Is that his favorite sport?
Oh, he loves it.
Mr. Stone King, welcome.
I think most of the teams run a sweep. So I think they had to pull him. He's playing guard on offense. They had to pull the guard and have him, I don't know, recommend that to the coach.
I'm sure he'll love that recommendation.
Never hurts.
Never.
And they never ran one play on defense. He plays defensive end on he's on the right side on defense.
Mhm.
They did not run one play his side.
Well, that may be a compliment to him then.
They all ran him to the other side,
Wow.
the weak side, I guess.
Interesting.
We had back probably about when Jeremy was still playing football for us. We played, and Franklin County was really good, and we got beat pretty bad by them in the regular season. And we went down there in the sectional, and we had put in a new offense with a motion back and kick out the end and try and run off tackle, and we ran it over and over. And we were in the game. It was close. Down to the end, and we ended up losing at their place, a close one. But after the game, they're like, that was a great idea you guys had running. Like, you kept going the same way because they always put their best defensive end to the wide field side.
Yeah.
So when we kept running everything the same way, we were running into the hash.
Into the hash.
And so after the game, that was grinder.
Yeah.
You probably, but Eric goes, I didn't tell him. That's all we had time to put in this week. Like, we can only teach the kids one play.
One way.
Didn't have an alternative.
Yeah, one way. Can't Grider. That's the name from the past.
You in the end, wasn't it?
So I haven't been able to find the scores for baseball. How are they doing?
Football?
Yeah,
3-1.
hey, that's great.
Yeah, for sure. JV is, I think 4-0, and the freshmen are 2-1. So far, so good. But now we crank up our schedule a little bit here next couple weeks.
Saturday.
You play East Central already?
Play East Central this Friday.
Down there or here?
Home.
Larry, we're gonna win. Don't do the ooh. We're gonna come out with a win.
Well, I know my grandson played their sixth grade team, and boy, you talk about
That's a whole
Well-
nother level. That doesn't count for us.
Did East Central play their JV team this past Friday against Franklin County, or did they just?
Franklin County has a quarterback who's really good.
I think
Say
Franklin
Franklin
County feels
County
pretty
played
good about
points all
themselves.
year, but they only gave up 34 points. It's
I think
more of a
that
concern or the hope for optimism that
East Central's
I saw.
missing a lot of their key players too. Like Mingus is out. And I think there's 2 or 3 more out.
Yeah,
injury or contact for that.
injury. Mingus broke his leg.
Yeah, Mingus broke his foot.
Yeah, it'll be a
I'm sure
fun
you've grown
game.
up a lot since middle school when I left.
East Central's
Yeah.
not, but East Central's not what they were. a
No,
couple
they're
years
not.
ago. I mean,
They're
they've
not.
already taken a loss this year.
I mean, I thought we looked good in the scrimmage when we played against them early in the season.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
They played Lawrence North, right?
Lawrence North.
I assume they're good, but they don't strike me as the perennial powerhouse.
They play elite conference. They're a good team. They're not an elite team. Franklin County's up 14-0 with the ball on the 10-yard line to go up 21-0, and they
Yeah.
That was a
turned it over on down.
So it's like people that they used to like.
Yeah, I saw that
roll
score.
over, they haven't been.
Yes.
They either had a bunch of second tier kids in for East Central, or they didn't show up to play and they got caught.
Could have been a little bit of everything, but the quarterback from Franklin County is a good athlete, very good runner.
He's like up in the top.
He wasn't even-
He's rated pretty high up there.
He wasn't even their first pick. There was supposed to be another kid starting.
I was gonna say, Blaine works and gets all the
I get
scouting
it. I do get it.
scouting report when we play Franklin County.
We're good. We can use you to leak some bad intel. We got all the players out that week. We'll use you to leak some bad intel.
I'll be down there tomorrow. There's 2 high schoolers that intern with the mentorship.
Yeah.
And he's office. I'll leave some
Tell them Batesville may not even get on the bus to come down there.
Right.
And then they'll be like, oh, because they're afraid of us.
No, it just, last Friday was just a beautiful night. The band sounds so good, the choir sounds so good, and we got our sound system ironed out, so it's fun.
It's just crazy that we've had so many home games, like the way the schedule's kind of front
Front
loaded.
loaded.
Just front loaded. Have a big, obviously big gate this Friday, so I'm sure Mr.
Four
Crowley's
out
happy.
of 5 games at home so far.
That's pretty good. But we on the road the rest of the year though, for the most part. Have to go to Connorsville, which is always,
I hate that drive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no good way to get there.
you know how I go anymore? I go to Rushville and come back. I don't go through Brookville or anything. I go to Rushville and get on 44 and shoot in Connorsville.
That's what I do.
There's a detour on 3 right now, I'll warn you though.
Is there?
3's closed last night,
Okay, that's good to know.
but that's several weeks away, so.
Well, there's usually work's not completed quickly, so probably still be closed.
Yeah.
Although I think the bridge is moving along quickly. I drove through it under it last night, 74. It looks like they've got a large
Huntersville.
Huntersville Bridge. November, I think, still target date. So, our traffic's been pretty good, but when we get Huntersville back open,
Oh, that'd seem like the floodgates are open.
that's gonna help a lot. It's gonna help a lot. Ms. Cassie, welcome.
Hi.
Good morning, I think still. Yeah, it's still technically good morning. I've invited Brad and Dana to come talk a little bit about the new teacher evaluation tool, so that's why they're here today. They're not here to complain about the superintendent, to my knowledge. And if they are, we'll have a different conversation. Let's start this thing up. I was just meant to find my bearings here. Show. I might need some new glasses here, Laura.
I know.
You did.
It's, Todd just said we got a little better deal on our vision insurance. We got a little more bang for a buck. We get
A little more robust.
A little more robust coverage. And it's not bad vision insurance. Let's get a little more coverage. I think it's a little higher premium. How much does premium go up?
For like individuals, like 70 cents per month, maybe 90.
And what was the benefit of that? What was it? We had a discussion. I just
An extra $30 for glasses, contacts, and deductible went down, and there's another, for people who don't need like regular glasses, they can get light glasses for like blue, for like when you're on the screen, so it doesn't hurt your eyes.
blue tint.
Blue tint for just non-prescription glasses.
Stephanie,
That's a no-brainer for 70 cents.
well,
Yeah,
It
no-brainer.
is now, but it wasn't just a second ago, but yeah.
when I looked up at it,
Just waiting for everybody to get on.
Call the meeting to order. We'll stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam President, good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. How are you, Mr. Ketchum?
Doing fantastic. We will begin, and I'll read this for you at this time. We'll begin with our official notice. We post this meeting that Batesville Community School Corporation and the Batesville Education Association, commonly known as BEA, will conduct a public hearing on today's date at noon in the Batesville High School Bulldog Room. Statutorily, we have to have a public meeting for anyone to discuss the collective bargaining agreement, the teacher contract, before we can actually enter formal bargaining. So we are meeting that requirement today with this meeting. At this time, I'll turn it over to you. And if anybody in the crowd has any questions about the collective bargaining process, you can speak on it. Madam President, I'll look for an adjournment for this initial meeting.
Meeting adjourned.
That will allow us to roll right into our regular school board meeting. I'm happy to be here today. We begin every meeting with our vision, our North Star, our why, And together with the community, BCSC is committed to providing an engaging and relevant learning environment based on strong foundation of academic knowledge, transferable skills, and of course, real-world experiences. Batesville Bulldogs embody confidence, empathy, and resiliency to ensure 21st century success. So again, I'd love to start that meeting with that mission statement. With that, we'll roll right into the agenda, Madam President. The first item for your consideration is a consideration of minutes. So I'll seek a motion to approve those as presented.
Does anyone have any questions from last month's minutes?
No.
Can I seek a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I will make that second.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll continue down the agenda. And the next item for your consideration are the payroll journals and the register of claims. You do have an additional 6 pages of claims in front of you from Mr. Nobby. He shared this morning, obviously he's happy to answer any questions you're going to have, that a majority of those claims come from Anthem Insurance. Is that an accurate statement, Mr. Nobby?
Yes.
There were no other large claims that might we bring to the board's attention, Mr. Nobby, that they should be aware of as they peruse through there?
Nothing I can think of.
So I'll give you a moment to look through those claims and seek a motion to present those, to approve those as presented.
I have a question for Mr. Hunter.
Mr. Merkel?
We're still paying, Guns and Guts Water for the 2024.
No, they have been paid for everything from the 2024. They were paid this month for renovations of the Student Success Center. That
Okay.
and actually a large portion of the funding for that is through BCEF, although it runs through Mr. Nobby's books.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Can I seek a motion to approve the payroll journals?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Larry. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Blaine. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll continue down our agenda. The next item for your consideration is the list of personnel. There were no changes in your board packet, so I'll seek a motion to approve that list of personnel as presented. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions?
I see we established a lot of grade level needs. Is that something new?
So there are two answers. The ECA schedule, there are stipends that teachers are paid to be curriculum leaders and so on and so forth. Those, and ironically, the principals of the room, those I believe are tagged teacher appreciation grant, Mr. Merkel, which is a different process. Those are dollars that we're a direct pass through. State of Indiana distributes those dollars based on your enrollment, approximately $30 per student. So that's where that money, those employees have been identified as the leads.
And it also looks like we had a lot of turnover in special ed.
We in today's environment, we have a lot of moving parts in our special education department. We have some resignations with our special education aides. That's an accurate statement, Mr. Merkel.
But you have filled those positions.
We either have filled them or in the process of filling those positions as we speak. Those positions will be filled.
Stephanie, I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report as filed.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. The next item for your consideration is the travel request. You'll see 3 employees from Batesville School Corporation travel to the Wilson Education Center. It's located in Charlestown, Indiana. They attended a trauma-informed behavior management conference. So with that, I'll seek a motion to approve that travel as presented.
Does anyone have any questions?
Paul, I did ask my wife about these last night, because I know these are folks that are in her area.
Sure.
I asked her about, where did Bethany or whoever go, where they went, what was going on. I think she said that they actually ended up canceling this trip because it was mechanicals there. I don't know if that's accurate.
So we'll approve a trip that's been canceled.
Yeah.
Mr. Timoneri. But no, thank you for that information.
Yeah.
Again, the 30-day window for board meetings, we get these gaps, these lags.
Right.
So that happens occasionally.
I will make a motion to approve.
Do I have a
will second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. That rolls onto our agenda. The next portion of our agenda is the financial report. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Mr. Tim Hunter, and he'll update this board on our financial standing.
The financial report was in the board packet and up on the screen. For the month of August, we were coming off of the summer, June and July, when we don't have a lot of 9-month employees on the payroll. So we typically build up a little bit of cash balance. So we started the month of August in the education fund with almost $2.2 million, which is a high water mark. Our normal basic grant payment from the state, a little over $1.5 million. We had expenditures of close to $1.8 million. We actually had a 3-pay month to start off the school year. So more than usual. So that balance changed, dropped by $227,000 and change to end up at $1,960,198. That still represents 11% of the full year appropriation. So after 3-pay month, and I know Jeremy, who's been on the board for quite a while, there were times that we would dip to 5 or 6% operating balance after a 3-pay month to try to build back from. So in good shape there. Debt service fund and operations, they had small amounts of miscellaneous revenue. Debt service doesn't have any expenditures. We won't pay anything out of there again until December. So that balance climbed by a little less than $20,000 to over $1.4 million. The operations fund still has quite a bit of, it has 3 payrolls as well. So a bigger month of expenses, dropping the balance by almost $400,000, but still over $4 million in the operations fund balance. And then we had no activity in the rainy day fund. The total balance across all 4 of those funds, $7,430,919, and that compares to a year ago, we were right at $7 million. So almost a little over $400,000 increase over a year ago.
Mr. Hunter, are the numbers reversed on the operation fund? Because it shows receipts of 113,000.
There were receipts of 113,000 and expenses of a little over $500,000.
So we should have gained some money.
We gained 100,000 and spent 500,000. So the net
Okay.
effect of that was that we
Got
spent
it.
about
I was
400,000.
thinking 1 million.
Okay.
My bad.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you for the question. Just a point of privilege for this board. We are rated by a credit company, S&P. Part of the process is that we are supposed to report to this board every month our cash balances and total. So again, it may seem mundane, but it's important for us to make sure this board has an awareness of where we're at financially. Any additional questions for Mr. Hunter at this time? Happy to answer. Hearing none, we'll continue on, and we'll actually begin the next portion of our meeting, and this is the budget hearing. Again, you'll hear the budget for the first time in September. Our next board meeting, October 8th, is when you'll formally approve the budget. That gives you, as board members, some time to kind of reflect on and ask additional questions. So again, I'll turn this over to Mr. Tim Hunter.
Okay. So each year in September, we hold a budget hearing, and then you formally approve it in October. And then pending approval of the Department of Local Government Finance, then they come back and we'll have it hopefully in time to start the calendar year with the new budget. Our budget advertisement was included in the board packet materials. That has also been advertised on the Indiana Gateway system and on the school website. We advertise budgets for those same 4 funds that we just reviewed, that we review every month: education, operations, debt service, and rainy day fund. So we'll go through each of those funds separately over the next several slides, talk about the sources of revenue and some of the major categories of expenditures. And then we'll follow that up with our overall plan for the budget for 2026, and then trends with tax rates and assessed values and student enrollment, things that drive both the revenues and the expenditures for Batesville Community School Corporation.
And I'll just quickly reiterate what Mr. Hunter said, is that a municipality, we have the legal authority to levy taxes, property taxes. But in order for a school to do that, there has to be a formalized process for you to approve the budget. Even when this board approves the budget's still reviewed by a local the DLGF. They'll eventually approve our budget. We'll get to, is it 1782 notice, Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
In December, which actually formalizes those are the levies that we're legally allowed to levy, the taxes we're allowed to levy following year. So again, this is important information as Mr. Hunter goes through what we fund our school with and how we fund our school with. Mr. Timonero, this is kind of your first run at this. This is action packed, so put your seatbelt on. Mr. Hunter does a great job here.
Feel free to stop for any questions you might have along the way.
All right.
Starting off with the education fund, that is the biggest fund expenditure wise. Approximately 60% of the money we spend each year is going to flow through the education fund. The major expenditures there are for salary and benefit costs for all of our academic areas. So all of our teachers, aides, building level administrators, other support services, health services, IT, and recently curricular materials was added into that. That used to be a separate fund that got rolled into the education fund. The primary revenue from that is the state basic grant. So in the education fund each month when we talk about the revenue, it's mostly that payment from the state. So we get it monthly, and it's based on enrollment. So there's no property tax levy for the education fund. For this 25-26 year, we expect to receive about $7,200 per student that we have enrolled. This is an increase of about $260 from last year. And a big chunk of that increase is due to the curricular materials fee coming as part of the basic grant instead of coming separately later. So it seems like we have a lot more money coming in, but some of that we were getting in a different fashion previously.
So to pull some threads there. So obviously ADM drives our ability to collect money for the education fund. Our enrollment has been pretty stable, or 1% growth, but the dollar amount per student has increased. And that's always considered new money. So whenever I refer to new money, those are new dollars or more dollars than we collected the previous year from our enrollment. So the good news is the foundation amount is increasing. It's kind of tricky because the textbook rental is baked into that, which is a whole other conversation, probably not at this time. But the good news for us is that we have the same number of students, which we do. There's $260 more per student now that we're collecting in the state of Indiana.
What is the current enrollment, or what we're doing on the?
2172, October 1st is the official count date, Mr. Merkel. But right now we're sitting on 2172.
Tim, what years past, so the curriculum's baked into that 260. How does that reflect, just for knowledge? Like,
What was the amount last year? Was it the per student? Was it 100?
It was supposed to be 160. It never is because there's a true up. It's usually $150 to $153 per student.
and then what was our state basic grant amount per student? Like, was it the kind of where I'm going is our curriculum dollars equal to generally expected amount per student annually on your
Yeah, last year actually I think I printed up the.
and this is for me more or less to
Sure.
explain to state legislatures.
So what has
You're not
happened,
giving a dollar.
there was a separate fund for textbook rental that could only be spent on textbook rental, as it should. What has happened, they pulled that back and they've now baked in that textbook rental fund into the ADM, into the state tuition support. So while that looks like a true up of $260 additional dollars, we have to still account for the textbook rental or curricular materials cost within that $260.
Right.
Yeah, so last year for the 24-25 year, and I'll share this at the end. I'll pass this around, but we received about $6,933 per student. last year, and this year we're expected to receive 7193.
So it does change our conversations on curriculum materials and our admin meetings and principals and all those things, because we have to acknowledge that now as part of the tuition support. Good question.
That's kind of what shows the payments of our.
Mr. Hunter, I'm going to transition to operations, but any other questions for Mr. Hunter on the education?
The only other thing I'll mention is that within our proposed budget for 2026, we have accounted for increases to salary based on that we had our that we started the hearing and we're going to be entering collective bargaining with the teachers and have a new contract. So we have plans for that.
I have one question.
Yeah.
On page 1 of your budget summary, on the education fund, you're projecting 18,300,000.
Yes.
And if we take the money that we're getting per student, are we going to be short?
Well, there's a lot of additional dollars. That is the foundation amount. There are CTE dollars. There are dollars to incentivize students to earn Indiana College Core. There are title dollars, federal dollars. All those dollars accumulate into the general education fund, Mr. Hunter. But you're right. If you did a simple calculation of 2197 or 2172 times 7193, that does not equal $18 million. There are additional sources of revenue in addition to state tuition support.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, if we go to the operations fund hasn't been around that long, and it's sort of a fund of funds that they folded into one, that the state wanted to push all of the overhead costs into one area when they were trying to track dollars in the classroom. So the major expenditures from the operations fund include all of the central office staffing expenses, so district level administration. It includes all of the maintenance and custodial staffing and supplies at the buildings, all of the utilities costs, any capital improvements across the district, and then all of the operating costs for the transportation department. So bus drivers pay, fuel, all of those sorts of things. Also replacement of school buses, and then any other equipment and furniture that might be used throughout the district, including technology equipment purchases. This is funded primarily through property taxes, which actually the maximum levy for 2026, you can see up there, is almost $5.1 million. So that's the most that we can raise, and that is a 4% increase from the 2025, our current year. In addition to that property tax levy, we can also transfer a portion of the state basic grant. When they created the Education and Operations Fund, they pushed like all of the district level staffing over into operations, and so some of the costs that they pushed aside, they allowed you to transfer money to still cover those. We have kept this transfer amount the same since 2023. We transfer $70,000 per month, which is less than 5% of our state basic grant amount. So that is trying to keep as many dollars available as possible in the education fund. In order to levy a property tax for operations, we also must adopt a capital projects plan and a bus replacement plan. So some of those advertisements were related to establishment of those plans, which will also be adopted next month.
Quick history lesson. Prior to having only two funds, the Education Operations Fund, there used to be 5 funds: capital projects, bus replacement. What happened when they condensed the two? There were still some carryover funds that stayed in the education or stayed in the operations. That's why some schools still transfer education dollars to the operations to help fund some of those costs. It's always been our philosophy. We want to pay our teachers as much as we can. So we try to protect the education fund. That's why we transfer as little money as possible from the education fund to the operations fund. 15% is kind of the threshold. If you're doing more than 15%, it's not illegal by any stretch, but it's basically kind of frowned upon by the DOE and the legislators. I would dare to say that 5%, or actually less than 5%, closer to 4.6%, would be a low water mark for any school in this area. Again, that's because our priority is to fund our teachers, our staff, and to not transfer education dollars to the operations. Tim?
Still related to the capital projects plan, this shows our statement of values for 2025 that we established when we go out for property casualty insurance. So mainly from a high level view that you can see the square footage of the buildings that we operate and maintain and the values. And especially in total, we have over 500,000 square feet of facilities that are maintained and facilities and value of equipment within those at almost $150,000. That's for 2025. So it will be in excess of 150,000 or 150 million, I'm sorry, in 2026. So just some key information there.
So again, just trying to connect us, the amount of money and resources it takes to maintain over 500,000 square feet, there's a cost to do that. And again, Tim and his team have done a very nice job. Batesville takes a lot of pride in being very lean, making what we have last a long time, and that's the reason why. Tim?
Also included in the advertisements, as part of the capital projects plan, we must identify equipment purchases that we plan that are in excess of $10,000 in the coming years. We have just one planned expense of more than $10,000 for 2026, and that would be replacement of one of our maintenance pickup trucks. We also must include any projects that we have planned that are in excess of $10,000. And there are several that were included in the capital projects plan across all the buildings that related to mechanical improvements, roof replacements, paving, sidewalk improvements, multiple interior upgrades, playground improvements, a range of things over the next several years that have been identified.
We'll continue on.
With operations, the same thing here for transportation, kind of from a high level view. We pay for all of the expenses out of the operations fund for our bus fleet operations and drivers. We operate 29 routes. We drive over 1,000 miles a day, getting students back and forth to school. Roughly 70% of our students are on a bus roster. That doesn't mean they ride every day, but around 70% ride at least occasionally. And then in addition to that, we transport St. Louis school students as well. We have still a few contracted routes. We are currently in year 3 of a 4-year contract with those that will expire at the end of the 26-27 school year.
Again, I want to extend my appreciation for this board allowing us to pay for all extracurricular activities, all sporting events, all field trips. Those costs of drivers and fuel and buses are covered by the corporation. No out-of-pocket expenses for our students or our families. So again, that goes unnoticed sometimes, that we don't get places without buses and fuel and drivers. And again, the operations dollars that we generate through levies help us. They do pay for those so that we can get to those places. So thank you.
As another part of the operations budget or for bus replacement, and we had to advertise this plan, and we will have to adopt it separately. It's used only to purchase school buses and activity buses. There's no contribution toward our contracted routes. And in order to use these funds, we must maintain that plan with the DLGF. Our 2026 plan includes replacement of 2 conventional buses, 72 passenger, with a budgeted cost of $360,000. You can lease buses with in the bus replacement plan also, we've never leased any buses. We've always purchased. So all of our buses are owned by the corporation. We also have to, if we plan on adding to our fleet, we have to let the DLGF know. And Mr. Ehrman, especially because since COVID, we've had delays. We're still waiting on buses that were supposed to be delivered last year that haven't been delivered yet. And so we have added an additional activity bus rather than we typically trade it in to bump up our fleet size because we have more replacements that we may not get for a few years. So mainly to make up for the extended lead times and getting new purchases, we are increasing our activity bus fleet by 1.
The cost of buses has exponentially inflated over inflation. A $45,000, $50,000 activity bus is now $90,000, and you can't touch a new school bus for just under $200,000. So again, those are stressors that we have finite, right? We have $5.1 million we collect when our transportation costs increase. We have to find other ways to kind of cover those costs. So again, those are that's what Tim's responsible for doing, to make sure that we maximize those finite dollars on projects.
Is
Question,
there any
Jeremy?
signal, Tim, on when they'll be caught up on that? It's crazy to think that we're still talking 5 years after COVID of things being backlogged or whatever.
I think that Mr. Ehrman has delivery dates. I think maybe in January he's supposed to receive buses. Like he has the production date in mind, but yeah, it has been a slow process.
Other factors such as tariffs. Tariffs impact metal components, and so that's passed on to the consumer. The company's not going to lose money on those tariffs. So again, we are experiencing high costs for transportation right now, as well as utilities. Electricity is very expensive for us right now.
But we don't currently have any buses that are like at the maximum of needing to be switched out, like rotated out.
No, and we do maintain several spares, multiple spares of each type, so that all of our fleet and everything gets, the inspections, annual inspections, and when they get to be a certain age, they have to get mid-year inspections as well.
It's a great question. The reality is safety is a priority, right? There's finite dollars, but at the same time, we can't put unsafe vehicles on the
I mean,
road.
that would be like, okay, then do you look at temporary leasing a bus at that point, like if we're at that alternative where we would have to do something?
I think at that point, all options will be on the table.
Yeah.
That's hard to read, Mr. Hunter, but if you just want to talk about that.
Yeah, this is just included so you can see. We actually have a fleet of 30 buses when you count the special needs transport buses plus the activity buses and all of the spares. So so there are 30 buses, and if you go across, it shows over the next 5 years, there are several years that we're scheduled to replace 2 per year, and you can see in the out years there, 2029 and 2030, we will be looking at replacing even more, three buses per year. So the school bus, the state expects that a bus should last at least 12 years. If you want to replace a bus in less time than that, you need to provide justification for that. And some of our buses, we're fortunate to have a good in-house maintenance operation for our fleet. But we did, in a couple of our contract bus cycles in rebidding them, we've had some contractors that stepped away that we were forced to buy new buses that we didn't really have in the cards. And so there was one time that we bought used buses because we had to buy like 4 buses and that were kind of unplanned for, do an additional appropriation and amend our plan, advertise all that. So we used to be right at that 12-year mark, and we're still kind of right. We try to stay as tight to that as we can, but with a little bit of wiggle room.
And just for this board's knowledge, every year the Indiana State Police, we have to go through bus inspections, and anything that they check, we have to fix. So again, safety is a priority for us.
What do we do with the buses that are cycled out? Do we sell those?
We typically trade them in. yeah, we can credit. It's easier to trade them in than for us to try to sell them on our own.
So with our contracted drivers that we have now, have they given any indication that maybe they don't want to redo a contract at the end of next year? Like, are we gonna have to anticipate then to buy more buses, or?
I don't think we've had any of
We
those
still have one
conversations.
more
Yeah.
year after this.
Okay.
But Mr. Ehrman, as the transportation director, stays in pretty close contact. Like, he knew we were gonna lose a few contractors the last cycle when we rebid, that he had, mostly it was some contractors that were going to retire, from it. Not, otherwise they would have still been interested. But so we will have a better handle on any changes coming.
Again, just nuggets of knowledge. When we have fuel bids, we sell that fuel to our contractors at the rate that we receive. So there's no problem for us, but again, we try to do everything we can to keep those costs down for our contractors. Tim, debt service.
All right, moving on to the debt service fund. And this is really the big slide for debt service. This has a listing of all of our outstanding bond obligations, including several that this board has been a part of the last few years, all the work that we've done in trying to manage our tax rate and trying to get caught up on deferred maintenance and improve some of our facilities out here. So all of that is accounted for there, and it shows in the columns going across. So when the bond was issued and kind of the primary location that we did improvements to, and then it shows the second half 2025. So that's all of those existing bonds. The payments that we'll have due in December are there, and then all of the payments for full year of 2026, but then also the first half of 2027 and the second half of 2027, all of those go into the calculation that the DLGF will consider in setting our tax rate and setting how much money we need to raise. They'll look at our June 30th balance, what revenue we expect to receive in the second half of the year, how much we're going to pay out, then everything that we'll pay out in 2026, and then we're allowed to keep an operating balance in the debt service fund of either 15% for recently issued bonds, and I think we have one bond that's still allowed to carry a 50% operating balance. But so all of that goes into play there. And if you look down here, that bottom line, proposed 2025 lease rental, that we've gone through hearings, and Mr. Wilson has been at our past few meetings with the process of selling the bonds that we anticipate will be sold later this month with a closing in early October. So we should find out the rates. Those will be competitively sold on the market, $6.6 million. But that $400,000 in bond repayment in 2026 was the estimate, sort of based on the parameters that were the kind of the upper limits of. I think we set 5% as the upper limit for what interest rate we would pay, and so when those bonds actually sell, we will get an amortization schedule, and that $400,000 is likely going to be more like $300,000. And that's what our budget will actually end up being set to. But this is the advertised budget for debt service. And if there are no questions, the rainy day fund, the rainy day fund at Batesville was originally established to pay for pension and severance obligations. Back when it was established, when teachers retired, their contract often included bridge payments that they would receive money for several years. And if there was a year that there were several retirements, it could create a liability on the corporation. And by establishing a rainy day fund, it could kind of smooth that out. But that has been negotiated out of our contract. Everything is front loaded as far as with 401A contributions and their teacher retirement. So that need we haven't really utilized the rainy day fund that much. It's still set up. We still advertise it. Most recently, the board changed the need for it. There was a board resolution after that COVID year to provide stipends to staff. That was the most recent activity. Until this year, we spent a little bit of money on it for severance expenses. And that's why we are looking at $8,978 is the balance remaining in that fund. We are advertising that amount. We don't anticipate transferring more money into that fund. So if we choose to spend that, we can. I think Mr. Ketchum talks a lot about pulling the levers and trying to help out. And I know between the education fund and the operations fund, there have been times where this board has chosen to not transfer money to the operations fund from education because we wanted to help that out more. There are some things even with our bond issue, with those dollars and the description of the project, that it gives us some flexibility that will help out our operations fund. So we have a little bit of flexibility without relying on the rainy day fund, and the funds that could feed into it, we don't necessarily feel the need to transfer those balances over.
Rainy day fund is a little bit of an archaic fund. Again, when there were 5 funds, you could transfer a portion from bus replacement, capital projects, transportation into the rainy day fund. Then with a board resolution, you could use those dollars for other things than the funds they were designated for. We are simply a cash in, cash out organization, right? We take our cash in, we push it out payroll. So there's really not a lot of extra cash for us to siphon off to put in the rainy day fund. But at one time, it served a purpose as basically a bond pension to pay off some debt we might owe people when they retire. If you were going to ask me, Mr. Ketchum, what will we use rainy day fund for in the future? Maybe to collect some dollars to pay the Ivy Tech tuition that we pay for all Batesville high school students. That would be a valuable place through a board resolution to put some additional cash. But this time, we don't have a lot of cash to put in the rainy day fund. So it is stuck on 8978 at this time. Tim, anything else you want to talk about rainy day fund?
This slide just shows appropriations history. So to give you a little bit of trend data, along with the bottom line there for 2026, our advertised budgets for each of those funds. So the education fund, a budget of $18.3 million, up from $17,750,000. The operations fund, $7,750,000, up from $7,620,000. Debt service at $4,668,769. Once again, that one will definitely change when the bonds are actually sold. And then rainy day fund of $89.78. Those increases, it's roughly 3% increase to the education fund, and in line with our revenue increase in the state basic grant. The operations fund is actually a little bit less. It's a little bit less than 2% increase to the budgeted amount for operations. Debt service is about a 7% increase, but when all the dust settles, it will probably be more like about a 5 or 6% increase to that budget. And overall, it's about a 3 to 3.5% at the end of the day. This will be probably the first time that we eclipse $30 million combined budget of those funds. So we are fortunate. We've continued to grow enrollment-wise, and we've continued to grow Batesville with our assessed value. So our revenue that we have to spend has grown as well.
Again, the word appropriation is a legal term. We have the authority to spend that amount of money. We can't spend more of that without an additional appropriation meeting. Mr. Merkel, you've asked this question before. When we do sell bonds, we actually do spend more than our $30 million. That's why we have Mr. Doug Wilson here to talk about the additional appropriations so that we have the authority to spend more than our budget is approved for. So again, appropriation simply means that's the legal authority. That's the top dollar we can spend within that calendar year.
So Tim, I know we previously talked about some of the Senate Bill 1 impacts. next year is not the first year that we reconcile or hit those impacts. It's the year after that because the property tax trail is that accurate where we're gonna start seeing less of an increase from year to year.
Yeah, I think I've heard Mr. Ketchum explain it, that, yeah, like it's not that we won't necessarily see cuts as much as we'll be limited in our growth in future years. And that is one of our thoughts with issuing the bonds that we're going to, and with improvements that can help drive our operations to stay lean and invest there and have a little bit of flexibility as we go forward.
So the Indiana Constitution had 1% property tax cap, so you can only pay up to 1%. But what happens each year, Mr. Timner, as you know, is as the assessed valuation of your home grows, that 1% is a moving target. So we don't hit a lot of property tax caps. 16,000, 16. How much do we lose to property tax caps per year?
Around 60,000,
Which is
for
real,
2025.
yeah, which is real money, but in the scope of a $5 million, it's not a lot of money. So as home values continue to increase, probably not as people won't hit their property tax caps, for lack of a better term. So I use this. There'll be a decrease in the increase. So the amount of money that could be captured actually will be decreased because of Senate Bill and Bill Act on that.
But and I ask that to some extent, 'cause I know the city's got some insight with that. You know, the purpose at RDC's that Paul Gates is starting to look at that with, he's anticipating, or the word he's getting is that more of those properties are going to hit those tax caps going forward. So
Yeah, going
Concerning
forward, there will
that,
be
I think
more
so.
properties that get tax cap credits, for sure.
And I would say publicly, I think the intent is good. Elderly, veterans, I think there should be some parameters to kind of cap those property tax caps for people. I think the attempt at the General Assembly this year needs some work, and hopefully in the short session, they'll go back and fix some things.
This slide just shows our tax rate history, and you can see, and even if we went back further, we would be still in that same range that we've had an advertised rate of around $1.10 to $1.20, and we've been at right around 90 cents as kind of our max for a tax rate. And we made sure to stay under that consistently.
We know what 2026 will be.
We expect to be right at that 90-cent mark,
Okay,
hopefully maybe just a little bit under that.
okay.
Yeah. And this is one of the big reasons for that. With all of our revenues, the amount that we're going to raise is going to be dependent on how much the tax rate is multiplied by how much value of property that it's spread out across. And as you can see, we found this out last month. The state had all this data finalized, but for 2026 tax year, we have $994 million in net assessed value, up from $926 million, which you can see from 24 to 25, we had a big increase, about 10% increase. And now we have about a 7.5% increase from 25 to 26. So even though our property tax, the levy for the operations fund was capped at a 4% growth, with adding 7.5% of property value, our rate will go down for the operations fund. So even if with adding debt service, it will go up a little bit, but the net effect should be, we expect to be level or possibly even slightly declining. So almost $1 billion of net AV. So you can see there have been several years here recently where we've had significant growth in AV.
And this is the net AV for the district, correct?
For the school district.
So I know we have a significant number of kids who are out of district that attend Batesville. Is there an operations cost capture on those kids that set up to stay?
There is not this time. There is now some mechanism for charter schools to capture operating expenses for students in district. The concept, Mr. Timonera, is the money follows the student. So we have about 15% of our student population comes from 9 other districts. Those dollars go into the education fund.
Right.
And again, you can transfer up to 15% of your education fund to operations. So indirectly, there is some additional revenue from education, i.e. students out of district, that can help us offset some operation costs.
Is there, and I'll just ask this
Sure.
generally, just as a yes or no, is there options or opportunities to capture operations dollars for that 15% of kids you're transferring in, or is that something we cannot do as a corporation?
We cannot do. Only defined municipalities and their borders, school district boundaries, can then levy those taxes this time. You know, but with that,
Those dollars stay in whatever district they would have attended, right?
absolutely. So if a Summon Dearborn student transfers to Batesville, that $7,100 follows the student.
Right.
Whatever property taxes that family pays stays in that district.
Correct. I guess where my question is, and I certainly don't necessarily think this is my opinion as far as something we should do, but if there's fees or opportunities for an operations catch up, because obviously our facilities are used by those students. We're glad they're here, but as we start going forward with these operational expenses, and we're having to add rooms or expand facilities because we're welcoming these students from other districts, if there's an opportunity there, I have no idea if there's funding. So,
That's a good question. We can follow up offline. You know, again, I wanted to backtrack to take your role with some gravity. You are a board of a $30 million organization, and you hold me accountable for how we spend that money and your transparency, and you represent the community on how that $30 million is spent. So again, I don't take your responsibility and roles lightly. We'll talk about ADM real quick, Tim.
Yeah, that slide shows recent enrollment history, and there's a lot of noise in there. And I think it appears more erratic than it actually is because of the way the scale is set there. It's actually about 40 or 50 student from the lowest to the highest. But we had we increased the full day kindergarten, which gave us a boost in ADM, and then at one point we added readiness kindergarten that gave us an even bigger boost, and then that was sort of taken away. And then we had COVID that kind of had a decrease initially. You can see the past few years we've been pretty consistent. Actually, whenever I checked on this, it was 2175. I think we're being paid for like about our estimated enrollment that our basic grant payments are based on is around 2180. We're in the 2170s right now. That's still moving around a little bit before the count day. But that is a key driver of revenues. Basically the entire education fund is paid for by a state basic grant. So that is, it's very important for us. And a lot of neighboring districts are seeing enrollment trends the other way.
Even though enrollment looks consistent, there is a trend that we had more students in the lower grades, kind of came to a pyramid for this reason. For this year, though, we have more students who've joined us in high school, and we have smaller class sizes in elementary school. If you're going to read the superintendent playbook, you typically want the largest class sizes in your elementaries because of attrition. It's not a bad thing. It's just something I'm aware of. Our enrollment is pretty much stable, but the complexity or the makeup of our enrollment is changing a little bit. And I think that's a credit to Batesville High School. I think more people want to bring their children to Batesville High School for all the right reasons. So with this, it's a lot of information. I appreciate your patience. Is there any questions that Tim and I can answer for you?
Can Tim share that with the board here?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hearing no questions, Madam President, we'll transition to Blue already, and we have two of our administrators in the crowd with us today, and I've asked them to attend. Statutorily in 2011, the state of Indiana said that we have to have a teacher evaluation model referred to commonly as the RISE model, RISE rubric. Every teacher had to be evaluated X amount of times. Every teacher had to be rated on a scale from 1 to 4, either effective, highly effective. And that was an arduous lift for our administrators. A large amount of their time was in the classroom to evaluate, which is not a bad thing. The legislators have then come to the conclusion that there was just not the return on investment they hoped for. And that went away July 1st of 2025. So we no longer have to rate our educators on a 1 to 4 scale. We have to evaluate them. So what a lot of schools have done is stayed status quo. In the Batesville way, we said, let's take this opportunity to implement something that's meaningful for our teachers and for our administrators. I went through a process. It was an online training session through Harvard about executive coaching, utilizing the GROW model. And I think some of you with Batesville Casket history know what the GROW model is. And we've kind of switched our teacher evaluation to ask teachers, how do you want to grow? Identify some goals. I will bring to you the evaluation model to be approved. Full disclosure, we are still working through this evaluation model with our teachers, with our principals, but we have a working framework. And I just wanted you as a board to understand kind of how it's working. So Mr. Stone King, Mrs. Cassie are here today. And Brad, I'll let you lead off. Talk a little bit about the goal setting process with teachers right now. How do we approach that?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll try to give you an overview, and then Dana brought even some goal examples to just kind of show you what that process looks like. So first, I think it's really important to understand, I feel like we've gone from compliance to more collaboration with our teachers, right? And at the end of the day, they're boots on the ground, and they are our most important resource other than our students that they're teaching, because that is what our goal is education. So I can't do anything but compliment all of our teaching staff, and we've just been blessed by the individuals that are working with our kids in our buildings. And so we tried to really break down what the teacher evaluation process looks like. And we call it now a teacher growth plan or a teacher growth process. And to kick that off, all the teachers are submitting what we would consider their first draft of a professional goal. They submitted that to each building principal, so all 4 of us, in early September. And then we're going to be in the process of setting up beginning of the year teacher meetings to review and hopefully finalize those goals. Really important. And again, if we go back to the RISE model, the teacher evaluation process that kicked off in 2012, they had something called SLOs, student learning objectives, and they were all based on state standardized testing. And so you would say 22 out of 25 kids passed iLearn, for example. We're trying to go beyond that. We want something that's a little more meaningful for themselves as a professional. So we've really tried to coach them. You know, it can be more qualitative, data-driven. Doesn't have to be so quantitative. And 3 out of 5 did this, or 20 out of 25 did this. We're trying to build in some of our attributes through Bulldog Ready. We're building in our master plan. And we just want this to be an ongoing, challenging goal, but something that they can work on. And the first question is, right, when I'm talking about this one, what if we don't meet our goal? You know, that doesn't mean you're not proficient, right? We all have goals that we may set for ourselves that are maybe a little too difficult, right? And we just need to make changes and keep pressing forward with our kids or with whatever we do professionally to meet that goal. And so I think that's probably the biggest change with our teacher evaluation system. We're still going into classrooms. We're still going to observe the instructional practices that our teachers are doing each day. But adding the goal, I think, allows us to have a collaborative process that works to do what's best for kids. And so the goal is very meaningful. Also, first time we've done this, we're going to have the opportunity to allow our teachers to self-reflect. So we're going to have twofold. That's going to be twofold. So we're going to have that opportunity when we go in and do an observation. Our teachers will have the opportunity to go in, reflect on how that observation went from their lens. Then they will provide us with that reflection. Then we will provide our observation and our notes to them. And it really hasn't been that process. We would go in a classroom, to be honest with you, we felt like scribes or you know, someone just trying to take as many notes as we can, say every single thing that the teacher's saying. And I come out of there and I'm like, what even happened? You know, I got to go back and read this to provide them with feedback. And so now I feel like we can take a step back from trying to list out everything they say and the kids say, observe it, give some pointers, listen to how they feel. Typically, they're probably going to be a little more critical on themselves than we will be of them. But really excited about that self-reflection. Also, we'll have consistent communication and collaboration about their goal throughout the school year. So I think we've enlisted it that we will at least have one mid-year check-in. They will also have the second opportunity to provide a reflection about that goal. We'll have a conversation, see where they're at, see what we need to course correct, see if we can meet that goal by April, May, depending on what it is. And if we don't, maybe that carries into 26, 27 next year. So really summarizing it all into that couple minute spiel is where it's at. And we're really excited about it. I really feel like our teachers are excited about it. It's something different. They don't have to turn in as much to us. It's just a collaborative, ongoing growth process for both parties, and we're really excited. And so I want to let Dana maybe elaborate a little bit more on the goals specifically, and then maybe share some examples.
So I think I've taught in several districts through my time, and I tell you what, I cannot wait for you guys to see this product. We worked a lot over the summer and last year, and Dr. Huber kind of took all of our crazy scribblings together and put this resource book together for our teachers that come to Batesville from here on out, to be able to hand them this and say, here's how you're going to be evaluated in our district, is second to none. This is an amazing resource. And as our teachers looked through this draft, all their questions were answered, and it was very comprehensive. So I think we're on the right path and we're doing the right thing for our teachers. And like Brad said, it's not this gotcha thing anymore. It's something they're excited about. So as Mr. Ketchum and as Brad talked about, our old system was very one size fits all. It was every classroom you went in and did the same thing. The expectations had to look the same. And I think as you're learning more about our district, we don't have one size fits all classrooms. We just don't. And that's a great thing. So that goal piece is going to be so important, because teachers are building their goal on what their classroom looks like and what they want to get better at. It's not something we've decided to do, because a lot of times the things that we say, they may have a totally different idea and something that's much better for their students than we could have, because we don't see them every day. So I brought 3 in particular, and I think these go to show just how much time and effort they put into building these goals. These are a lot of our general education teachers did things like differentiation, and they really want to get to the root of building math small groups and really working with kids on a small group basis every day. But our gym teacher, Chase Mears, his is connected to Bulldog Ready. He is building the attributes of drive, resilience, and empathy. And each student is going to track their improvement for each attribute through PE class. So everybody's creating their own individual goals, and then he's conferencing with them throughout the year. I mean, those are not things that you would typically see in a gym class. And in drive, resilience, and empathy, that goes far beyond teaching a kid how to shoot basket in basketball. We're talking about the things that are going to take them into the future. So I thought that was a really good one. Olivia Brancher, our teacher, she's taking a class, a 90-hour class online, wants to try a new kind of ink project with her kids. But the fact that she's getting we're recognizing the fact that she's taking a class on her own time to do something for our kids is something we've never been able to recognize before. And we're going to say, okay, that's an awesome goal for this year, and it's going to directly affect the kids in your classroom. And the other one I brought was Megan Kesterman, who's our music teacher. Those are hard groups to assess, and her goal was, I want to have a formal performance assessment for every grade by the end of the year. And what that performance looks like will be different for every grade. But the fact that she's focusing on a true assessment is something, again, that we just haven't had in the music classroom at the elementary level. It's just not been expected. And now, moving forward, we're going to. So those are just some pieces. I can't wait to have, we are just starting our conferences. I can't wait to have those conversations with the teachers and then follow up after observations. It's just looking so different. And just that atmosphere in our building has already changed, because they're not worried about those conversations. It's a growth. It's truly a growth model. Questions?
No, thank you, Ms. Cassidy, and I want to express my gratitude to this community. We talk about community connected. I am a trained educator, I'm not a CEO, and I've learned through a lot of our business partners, how do you run a business, but our business is people, and I'll name them. Gary Munchell was instrumental in telling us how to use the grow model, how to leverage a feedback loop, and how to go away from compliance and gotcha to how do you really want to grow as a professional so that students succeed. So this teacher evaluation system, there's an opportunity for our teachers to own the process of getting better professionally so that our students can win. So I'm excited about it. I will say this, more work than it's been a lot of work, and I give our administrators a lot of credit. It's taken a long time to get here. And year 2 is going to look different than year 1, right? There's still going to be some improvements that we can make. But what do bold leaders do in bold schools? They take chances for kids, and that's what we're doing right now. So the initial data that I'm receiving back from principals and teachers is it's been a great shift. And I think at the end of the day, it aligns with our Bulldog Ready mission to make sure that kids are ready for what's next. So what questions can I answer for you? I will bring this to you formally soon to approve it. But again, I just wanted you to know where we're at in the process. Okay, thank you. We'll continue on. Next item on our agenda is patron comments.
At this time, if anyone would like to make comments, feel free to take the floor. Comments are to be kept to school-related activities, and no school employee or student should be named specifically.
We'll go right to our action items. Our only action item is approval policy 6810, suspension and expulsion. And Mr. Timonera, your recommendation suggestion is the only change, that this board will serve as the final expulsion examiner review for any appeals to the superintendent's decision. So that was a change in that Neola policy 6810. So I'll seek a motion to approve that as approved or presented, and answer any questions you have.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Blaine. Thank you, Jeremy. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. Just an awareness, obviously a large portion of our employees are in the classified employee handbook. So just for this board's awareness, we are working behind the scenes to evolve that evaluation model as well. It's archaic, it's old, it's actually from Margaret Mary Health. It's on a scale of 1 to 72, and it just doesn't work for us. So just so this board's aware, we're trying to replicate that same thing for our classified staff. Superintendent's report, I won't read to you, but we've got a lot of events like we always do. Staff PD next Monday, no students. We're focused on teaming. I'm excited to report to you what teaming is. Think about, there's a legal term called an individualized education plan, an IEP, legal document. We are truly rolling up our sleeves and trying to create a learning plan for every student in a teaming concept, where groups of teachers are responsible for smaller groups of students so that no student slips through the crack. What's happened through compliance is there are students with high needs, and there are students with not a lot of needs, and there's the middle of the pack. And a lot of times, the middle of the pack students, they don't cause any trouble. They get C's and B's. They really don't get challenged. And our goal is to say, why is Tim Hunter only getting a B in biology, and have that conversation with parent, and let's talk as a group of teachers. Stephanie, what's working well in your classroom that I can use for Tim? So we're really trying to put some processes in place through Bulldog Ready, our master plan, to walk the walk, to make sure that we do give students the opportunity to be successful, whatever that looks like. So that PD day is next Monday. Apple Fest pageant next Sunday, the 28th. October 6th, we have some concerts. October 6th, the week of, is Fire Prevention Week. Our school board meeting is an important one, is October 8th. We will approve the budget. I'll seek a motion to approve the budget. Mid-semester break, fall break, October 13th. And with that, Madam President, I'll turn it over to you and the board for any comments.
Does anybody have any comments?
I would just add to the reminders that tonight is the booster raffle and dinner for anybody who's planning to attend. Obviously, they're critical in supporting our athletic programs financially. So,
Anything else?
I sent something to you, Mr. Ketchum, about what the state of Oklahoma is doing about students and the use of cell phones. I don't know what the state of Indiana is going to do, but I thought that was very interesting.
So Mr. Merkel's referring to the state of Oklahoma as banned all cell phones in schools. You're not allowed to have them in schools. So that's bigger than my pay grade, Mr. Merkel. Let the governor of Indiana make that decision.
But they do have some exceptions for medical and other issues.
There are some carve-outs. You are correct.
Anything else?
Thank you.
It's interesting that the state can't.